I can't thank each of you enough for being here today to honor my dad and show support to my mother, me, Chandler, Chase, and our extended family. You know, the Lord has been with us every step of the way, and I tried to write this eulogy for 2 weeks, having no idea that we were this close to Dad being ushered into heaven. And I couldn't find the words. I had so much I wanted to say, and yet I had so much to say I couldn't say anything at all. And then at some point, anything I had to say didn't feel significant enough to do him justice. Yes, Ruby, we know you're here. And this morning, as I was preparing to get ready, I heard the Holy Spirit say, "You've been prepared for such a time as this." And I don't know that Dad or I, either one, ever knew that one day this day would come and that his purpose was to demonstrate how to lean into faith and how to live a life to the fullest, and that I was going to be the son that was to tell the story. The first time that I prepared to bury my father was at the age of 16. I did so again at 25 and again at 38. Each time I found myself begging God not to take him. Dad wanted to turn 70 and to celebrate 40 years of marriage with Mom. The long and the short of it is, God wasn't done with Dad yet. Their 40th anniversary party was one of many examples of how my parents taught me to make the best of a situation. The night before the event was to be held, Dad was admitted into the VA hospital. We did not let that stop us. We still had the party with me at the door saying, "I'm so sorry Dad is not with us," and you should have seen the faces when people thought he had passed away. And I said, no, he's not with us here, he's at the hospital, and I had to correct them, and Mother greeted guests, and I think she might be the only person in Tuttle that had an anniversary party for their wedding alone. We then traveled to the VA in all of our party clothes with a layer of their cake and celebrated with Dad. Living life to the fullest is not a feeling, it is an action. Now at the age of 40, I finally faced the day Mom and I feared would eventually come. The thing is, this time, instead of begging God not to take him, all I could say to God is thank you. While the feeling of loss is so very strong, I am equally overwhelmed with feelings of gratitude and honor. I am so proud of my dad and the legacy he left behind. Recently, I asked Dad, "What was your greatest achievement?" His answer was, "You were, Brent. Your milestones became my goals, and as you achieved each one, so did I." His will to live was centered around his faith and belief that God had a purpose for him, and he wanted to see as much of my life as possible. No one in the medical field gave Dad the slightest hope for a long life. But that didn't stop Dad from giving life all he had. His goals started with wanting to see my 16th birthday, then high school graduation, my college graduation, my wedding, and then becoming a father. As I accomplished each milestone, Dad was blessed knowing he had defied yet another medical odd because he wasn't supposed to have been at any of them. The years that followed were filled with some really big highs and some devastating lows as we learned how to navigate a long-term illness. My mother never gave up on him, and he drew strength from her belief in him. We lived each day like it was our last, and every birthday, Christmas, and other celebrations as if they were our final ones together. Once the boys were born, Dad's focus changed a bit, and everything he wanted to do with me, he wanted to do with them. Chandler and Chase, these two blessings from God, added years to my dad's life. They were their papa's world. We are a family that lives by the phrase, make it work. When it came to Dad, we pushed all boundaries and didn't accept no or it can't be done. That said, we didn't get through caring for Dad alone. To our village, and you know who you are, there aren't words to express what your support at all hours of the day and night have meant to our family through the years, especially in these final few. We will be forever grateful. For those of you who weren't involved daily, here's a glimpse of life with Dad. When we went to a restaurant, it was understood that whoever sat next to Dad would cut up his food. He wore Wrangler jeans for years. We all held onto his belt to help stabilize him, and as a result of this, nearly every pair has the middle belt loop in the back gone. I can't count the number of falls he had. Each time, people who weren't used to seeing it would gasp and rush over and be shocked to find us laughing. Because sometimes all you can do is laugh. Most people would never have attempted to take a scooter along a hiking trail. On a camping trip to Roman Nose State Park, Dad said he wanted to join us. Things went well until he tumbled backwards end over end while going uphill. Even still, we would do it all over again. Along the way, he was teaching us by example that nothing is impossible and to smile through it all. Against medical advice, we checked Dad out of the VA hospital more than once to go on an adventure. He went snow skiing at Winter Park, which he loved. On our last trip, he was tethered behind me while I held onto the rope lift pulling us up the mountain. He accidentally leaned to the right, which sent him over the edge of an 8-foot drop, pulling me underneath the rope and in front of him, where he subsequently ran over me. While we were howling laughing, the management staff of the ski resort came running out, terrified that a disabled war vet had just flipped over the cliff. Dad also loved roller coasters, so once again, we checked him out and went to Six Flags Over Texas, spending 12 hours riding the rides. He loved it, and because he was in a chair, we got to skip the line and use the handicap entrance. You see, there's always a silver lining. You just have to open your eyes and heart, and you will find it too. The shenanigans continued when we checked Dad out to celebrate his 70th birthday on his bucket list trip to Alaska. I have yet to discover the right adjectives to do this memory justice. Call us crazy, but we chose to take someone who hadn't left a hospital bed in a year and fly them to Canada to board a cruise ship. Upon arrival, we found out the handicap room was oversold, which meant we couldn't get the rental equipment in the room to take care of him. And our village readily stepped in without saying a word again. We carried him in a sling, or it might have been a bedsheet actually, through the door, used accessible restrooms on different floors, and had an incredible time. We weren't going to let anything rob him of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He beamed with delight the entire time, evident in every photo and memory. While it was the hardest thing from a logistical standpoint we have ever done, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. Sometimes we would get frustrated because Dad didn't or wouldn't acknowledge his own limitations. He fell off the lawnmower due to getting out in the heat of the day, fell out of the attic breaking 6 ribs because he didn't ask for help, and on a trip to Tennessee, he fell down the escalator, and thankfully Aunt Melinda was standing in front of him and braced herself to catch his fall. Like I said before, his village showed up and stepped in without a word being said for 42 years. I had no idea his passing was so close, but I had a gut feeling I needed to spend time with him, so I paused life for a bit to be with him. Those days hold some of the most precious, memorable moments. So many things remind me of him already. When I hear the leaf blower, I think of him because that's when I knew Dad was up. He would get out and blow off the sidewalks and blow under the carport, and that was his job and how he helped Mom. When I hear a lawnmower, he loved to mow the lawn every other day, liked it low and tight. He always had a dream of a John Deere, and just this last year I drove to Standridge and bought a John Deere, and I actually kind of felt bad about bringing it home. I thought, how mean to drive up in the lawnmower he always wanted when he can't get on it. But I decided to show him, and he had more fun watching me or Mom, and mostly Mom, drive round and round on the front yard mowing the lawn, and he'd look out his window and watch that, and he would say, "That lawn looks so nice." Mom always said, "You know, Dad thinks we live in Gaillardia right now with how I'm mowing the lawn." He got an interest in birds. I don't have time to tell you all the bird encounters today, but he wanted a hummingbird feeder for Father's Day, so I went to get him a hummingbird feeder, and we could not get a hummingbird to come to save our life. Thankfully, I even called people and said, "Can you catch one and bring it? Can we buy one? What do I have to do? This man wants a hummingbird." Thankfully, his caregiver's husband ordered him some hummingbird decoys on Amazon. We wired them on, and would you know that the day before he passed, the hummingbird came and fluttered in front of the window, and he got to see it, and he was so excited. When I see Orange, I think of MS and his belief in a cure. And you know, this cause of curing MS is more than near and dear to my heart. That didn't even do justice to it. And most of you know that's actually my career, is fundraising for a cure for MS. And at one point I thought maybe it was too close to my heart, and it ripped me apart just a little too much. And I thought I might quit, is the truth. And Dad was in the hospital. It was Christmas Eve, and I was telling Mom I didn't even think he was awake. And he heard me say what I was thinking to do, and he said, "Why would you do that? They're going to figure this thing out, and you're going to be a part of it." And would you know that was December, and in March, the FDA released the first drug protocol for progressive MS, and Dad and I were at the event where they announced it, and we were a part of it. Homemade ice cream. Thank goodness Terry Skaggs figured out how to make butter pecan ice cream and shared the recipe, and he wanted it every time I would make it. And I said, "Dad, it's like $50 a gallon." But he didn't care what it cost at all. And pecan trees. If you had a pecan tree, when he was able, he wanted to come pick up the pecans. He had his little rolling tool that he'd roll around. He'd get 5-gallon bucketfuls of them and pick up pecans. And you may not know this, but Dad and I shared a couple of unique employment similarities. Our first jobs were working at the grocery store in town, and our second jobs were at a funeral home. And Dad planned every aspect of this service. He was not a man who said, "I don't want all that fuss." Let me tell you something, he wanted all the fuss. Over the years, and especially lately, I have seen so many people who admire my dad. I have my own reasons that I admire him, but I couldn't help but wonder about theirs. I've come to believe it was that he showed us how to live. If you have learned nothing else from our family's journey, please remember this. Don't allow physical limits or expected boundaries to keep you from living a full life, and lean into your faith along the way. That philosophy is his legacy to me. Dad's lifelong goal was to enter heaven and hear, "Well done. Welcome to the place where you belong." Our family has peace knowing he ran through those gates like he said he would, sprinting toward his Savior who joyfully greeted him with those words.